Michael here, and this is going to be a quick tutorial on how to put GraphQL with Java Spring. These are just going to be the dependencies that you need in order to put GraphQL with Java Spring. I will go ahead and link them in the description. First thing you're going to need to do is go to your application and then go ahead and do a component scan, making sure that you have your REST services and also your queries. These are going to be separate folders that you're going to create, and then you're going to be able to put your queries there. You're going to need request objects, responses, and the actual query itself. You're also going to need to go into your resources and create a schema for your queries. So essentially, these are going to be where you actually write your queries to wherever to be. These are just blank queries, so I can show you with a user interface called graphql, which we put in our dependencies. This is going to be the name of the query. The query is going to be right here. That's the name. Query. So we want our first string query right here, and it should appear just like so. We're going to run that. Oops. Let's remove this for now. And there you go, your first query. You can also see here what's going on with all the docs of your query. So you click it, you can see all of your queries here. So let's just go to second query. You can see it there too. So the response is made here in the queries of your class Java class. And then you have to create a sort of template, a schema. It's like what is first query going to return? It's going to return a string. These must match the name of the function in the query class. So these must match first query, second query, second query. Okay, so now this is an example of how to give inputs to your query. We're going to use strings. And this is exactly how you would go about doing this. So first name string, last name string. And then you can go ahead and return the string here. So these are all return statements, and these will be how you return it. So we can go ahead and do that real quick. We can just go ahead and remove this. So we'll see, I think it's called full name. Yep, full name. We can do first name like that. We'll say Michael. We'll say last name, like Jameson. Should work, and there you go. There's your full name query. That's how you use inputs. Now, if you want to go ahead and use a Java model object, such as user request, that'll return a string. This is how you start making more complicated requests. Here's a user request here, and it'll hold the first name, last name. So basically, essentially do the same thing, but we're going to be passing in a model. And that. So we're going to do the same thing here, but instead we're going to pass in a model. I think I saved it. Yep. Okay, so essentially something like this. So full name user. Then we call the model object just like that, and we pass it in over here. So the user request, and that input must be named input in order for it to be retrieved. If we remove that, it turns red. It cannot get it from the actual Java object. We need to go ahead and name it here. And what exact data are we going to be pulling from there? So this is also going to be returning a string. And yeah, so we'll see that works. And we'll just be like that. Right, and then full name user works. That's how you input a Java model and get a string in return. Okay, so the last one will be getting a Java model in response. And this is going to be from an actual database. So I made a quick database here. Let me just pull it over. And inside this database, we have a single user that's going to have a first name of first, last name of last, and neighbor neighbor with an ID of 1. It's going to, once again, have to match the names here. So this one's a little tricky here. It's difficult for me to understand, but bear with me with this. So you will return a user response here. But in order to get this, you need to go ahead and basically pass in the user that you will be receiving from the database here and whatever the data or values that you want to return. So you're going to pass in your REST call, or your service call rather. So for instance, if we have get user. So this is just basically a normal query that gets a user by the ID. So, and then we're going to return a user model from a user entity. Then we're going to pass that into this user response and get these values in return, and then pass it back to this user response. Then, right, so basically, yes, it's just going to be a normal query here, but we can control the values being returned. So we're going to go ahead and see if that works. So we're going to have to use user here. Just verify, yes, they're the same. One other side note, you can use something like this, and it would still work. But we're just going to go this way. So let's go ahead and try that out. Just remove this. And going to be user here. And we just pass in an ID of 1. Let's see, what's this error say? Did I mean user? Let's see. One sec. Okay, so it fixes it for you if you mess it up. Okay, now I see it. Something like that. It's an ID of 1. No. Okay, right. Sorry. So basically, yes, that's correct. You're asking for an ID of 1 here, and then it's like, what fields do you want from this list, right? So what fields do you want from this response here? So I can control it. I just want the ID, or I want the ID in the first name, or I want the ID in the last name, right? So as you know, with normal REST routes, you basically had to create a whole nother route and make sure to only give the first name or give the last name. Now, you just need a single route, and the person can request whichever type of data they want. And that's what's so awesome about GraphQL. Alright, I hope you enjoyed. Stick around for more content, and click the like button if you liked it. Bye-bye.